We are natural overplanners. Planning a trip should be exciting, but we tend to go too far. Too many tabs open, too many best restaurants, too many backup plans, too many places to see in one trip.
So let's be honest here. We are overpackers, we are overschedulers, and we are overthinkers about everything that goes into a trip. And quite frankly, it can be exhausting before the trip even begins.
So we're going to be honest. We haven't got this all figured out yet. This isn't a video about how we've mastered this all. It's a video about how we rein ourselves in to try to find a balance. Welcome back to Core 4 Adventures. If you're new, I'm Laura.
And I'm Carol, and we'd love to hear from you. Are you a go-with-the-flow planner, or are you classic overplanners like us? Drop it in the comments section below. So the first thing that we've been trying to incorporate into our trip planning to make it a little bit easier is to have a clear definition of what the trip is and what the trip is not. If you have that going into the planning experience, you're going to have a better outcome. So for example, we went on a Mediterranean cruise, and we knew that was about exploring Europe and seeing all of the history at our fingertips. We knew it was going to be port intensive, something new to look at every single day, and lots of walking. Now, when we planned a trip to Mexico, again, another cruise, that was all about relaxation. We were more about the experience on the ship than the actual ports we were going to go see, because we just wanted to get away and have some relaxation time. And finally, when we went to Bermuda out of New York City, it was a girls' trip, and it was a little bit of a mix of both. We did a lot of sightseeing when we were in New York, but once we hit the ship, it became about relaxation and connecting as sisters.
And we do have an upcoming trip where we're taking a special guest who's going to need us to slow down and not overplan, and so we've had to take that into consideration too.
So again, if you have a very clear definition and purpose of the trip, it can help focus your trip planning so that you're not spending so much time researching things that are not even applicable.
So step 2 in trip planning for us is we cap ourselves. We have to. We used to try to plan 6 to 8 different things in the same day, and we would be absolutely exhausted at the end of that day. I can't help but think back to New York City, and the first day, we didn't even think we'd overplanned ourselves at all. And we found ourselves at midnight on the first day, hobbling back into the hotel room and realizing that we needed to change up day 2 for sure.
Yeah, we went to the Empire State Building, then we went to the Natural History Museum, we went on a cruise of the harbor to see the Statue of Liberty, and then we went back to the Empire State Building at the end of the night to see the city with all of the lights on. And we were absolutely exhausted.
So now we try to do one daytime activity and one evening activity as anchors and plan around that. We try to stop ourselves from doing that. It can be so exciting, all the things you want to see in a new city, but pick your favorites and you can always go back.
And of course, if you've got those anchor activities, one in the day and one in the evening, if you finish them early, then you can have some backup activities that you can go and explore, but they're not your must-dos, they're your want-to-dos if you've got time and you can fit them into the day. Step 3 of our overcoming the overplanners in ourselves is to intentionally schedule some downtime into our itineraries. These are big blocks of time where we don't have anything planned, or maybe we've got pool time planned, or spa time planned, or nap time planned. If you've got these downtimes built into the itinerary, you're going to have a much more relaxing day. Then if you find out that, hey, it's nap time, but I'm not even that tired and I want to go do something else, you have that ability to do so. But without those blocks of time for a chance to do nothing, you're going to be overprogrammed.
So what does this white space look like? It can be an open morning on a sea day with nothing planned, an afternoon in a port where you come back early like we did in Puerto Vallarta and then spent it in the thermal suite. That was so relaxing and definitely made it a more enjoyable trip. It can be a nap scheduled in. You can always change it. You can do backup things, but burnout comes from constant movement. So having this built in can give you time to grab that cup of coffee, take a nice stroll, just lay back and relax, or it gives you time for something surprising and different that you weren't even expecting. So step 4 is we plan in layers, not just all at once. We used to binge plan and it was chaotic. Now in phase 1, we do our big picture research, we choose our top priorities, and we start the schedule that way.
And then in phase 2, we book those anchor activities. We get the big things out of the way, and anything that is time sensitive, we get booked so that we can really relax and enjoy the rest of the planning process.
And then in phase 3, we can fill in all the little things we want to do around that. The things that are more flexible and that can fall to the wayside if we have, in fact, overplanned ourselves like we sometimes do.
And all of this lives in a spreadsheet. I'm a spreadsheet girl. I cannot help it. I love this spreadsheet. We have developed this spreadsheet over time, and it really works out for us. And in it, it contains all of the information that we need for our trip. The dates that we're going, the activities that we're doing. We'll put in our flight information, our hotel information, any confirmation numbers. We will have a plan on where we're eating dinner that evening. And it just keeps it all contained and in one location. And I have found that it is the only way to keep our overplanning organized. Otherwise, it can get really chaotic. Step 5 of breaking the overplanners in us is that we no longer try to win the trip. This really happened for us in Europe, where we had a checklist where we were trying to hit all of the major big sites. One more cathedral, one more historic area, and it just became overwhelming. Now, we don't do that at all.
Now we ask ourselves, do we want to see a lot of things lightly or a few things deeply? For example, when we were in Europe, we saw a lot of things lightly. We were in Florence for all of 3 hours. We were in Pisa for like an hour tops. That included time for walking to and from the tower. But when we were in Bermuda, we spent 3 full days there. We really got to intensely learn about that island, and that was really a lot more enjoyable. This doesn't come naturally to us, but we're trying really hard to make this work.
Does this conversation resonate with you? Are you trying to overcome being an overplanner like we are? Well, if you are, please subscribe to our channel. We'd really love to have you here. We release new content every single week. And if you find anything valuable in this video today, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to drop us a comment in the comment section below.
Step 6, we pack like we plan, and we are really trying to work on this. Honestly, we're still overpackers. But the things we don't bring are extra shoes, extra clothes, just because outfits. We have learned to leave those behind. We make a spreadsheet of exactly what we do need for the trip, and we try to stick to that. We intentionally rewear outfits, which really helps. One of our problems is we like different outfits throughout the day because we're taking pictures all day. We're on video. We want to look good, and it shows in our luggage.
You know, we are always going to be those people that check a bag. You know, I was watching Rick Steves the other day, and he was saying that if you go on a trip with him, he makes you stick to just one rolling carry-on bag. And I was like, well, I am never, ever going to be able to travel with Rick Steves because that is not going to be me. I'm always going to be the person that checks a bag, has a roller bag, a backpack. It is who I am, and that's okay.
What we have found is that we do always wear everything that we take because we do that spreadsheet. And that could be great for you too.
In fact, we just did a video on our travel must-haves for 2026. We're going to drop that video right here for you. Just click on the link and see what we think is really important to include in your luggage on your next trip. Step 7 on overcoming being an overplanner is to divide up the responsibilities. Now, one way that you could do this is there are 2 planners here. Laura and I like to share planning responsibilities. So we could say, hey, Laura, you're going to book the flight, do all of that research and tell us what the best flights are, and I can focus on the hotels. That can help relieve all of the stress of finding things to do.
The other way is for one to take the lead and the other to kind of be the sanity checker. Make sure that you're not overplanning us. But reality for the 2 of us is we really like to do a lot of it together. And we do divide and conquer to an extent. Carol really leads with the flights and the hotels.
More of the logistics.
Right. Whereas I'm all about what we're going to do when we get there and where we're going to eat.
Dividing up the responsibilities can help eliminate duplicate research, decision fatigue, and arguments while you are going through the planning process.
Step 8 is we protect our sleep like it's part of the itinerary. Those early morning flights, those late nights, they all add up really fast. So we make sure to schedule rest times as well as a good night's sleep in there. When you get back from a vacation, you shouldn't have to take a full week to recover.
Now we say that we do this, but we're not always successful. For my 50th birthday, we flew over to London, and the very next day we scheduled ourselves a 9 a.m. tour of the Tower of London with a meet and greet with the Beefeater. It was a wonderful experience, but boy, we were so jet lagged. We should have tried to do that for later in the day, but that was a lesson learned, and next time we'll try to do better. Step 9 is planning for the unexpected. Some things are gonna go wrong. So if you are planning your trip and you're not leaving yourself room or flexibility for adjustments, then you're gonna be disappointed. You know, when we went to New York City and we really overprogrammed our very first day, we looked at that night at our itinerary for day 2 and we started crossing things off. And we were comfortable with that. We were okay with that. Our feet were telling us that we had to do that. So it was okay to make those adjustments. But if you're too rigid on your itinerary, you're not going to be able to respond to things like maybe there's bad weather, or maybe you can't do everything that you had planned because you're just physically exhausted, or maybe you show up for something that you really wanted to see and find out that it was closed. So those things happen, and you do definitely need to stay flexible.
Step 10 is we debrief honestly. We say to ourselves when we got back, what stressed us out, what felt overprogrammed, what felt overplanned, what was good about the trip. And we try to take that and evolve with each trip so that we get better every time.
We do this not because we have the goal of becoming a perfect trip planner, because I don't know if we will ever arrive there, but we do want to get better each trip that we plan, and experience brings that. And every single thing that you learn is something that you're going to do differently in the future. So how are these steps changing our travel? Well, we're trying our best. I will say we are who we are. Like I said, we are going to always be overpackers. We're probably always going to be overthinkers and overplanners. But each time we try to incorporate these steps into our planning process, we get a little bit better. And everything that we can do to move that forward, I think, is a step in the right direction.
It's absolutely a step in the right direction. It was pivotal for us to change in New York, but that taught us some very valuable lessons. Just like when we went to Europe and we realized that every day can't be pre-planned and go, go, go. We need downtime. We got to the 7th day of the cruise and we just made it a sea day. It was raining, and although the port looked beautiful, we were exhausted, and spending the day on the pool deck and just relaxing was exactly what we needed to do. So that's exactly what we did. Being able to go with the flow is something that's really important, especially if you're an overplanner. So keep that in mind.
And I would say incorporating these tips that we've talked about today can really make us enjoy the planning process. We enjoy the planning process together, but sometimes we can have a few arguments along the way. And this will reduce those arguments and the stress and have us enjoying our vacation and the planning process in and of itself.
Letting go and enjoying that vacation is what it's supposed to all be about. So keep that in mind when you're planning. It's supposed to be fun.
We are probably never going to be those spontaneous, go with the flow, just see where the wind takes us travelers. That's just not who we are. But using these tips like we talked today, we can plan with intention, build in some downtime, protect our sleep, and really focus on reducing the overpacking that we have. I think that will help us go a long way.
And if you're a recovering overplanner just like us, you are not alone. We would love to hear your experiences in the comment section below. Please let us know what you've overplanned and how you've overcome it. Let's have a conversation so that everybody can get better at this.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today. We hope that you found something really valuable in today's video, and we are going to catch you next time right here on Core Adventures. Bye!